The sky above the shattered moon burned with streaks of molten silver. As Commander Rylan Locke stepped onto the obsidian ridge, cold wind sliced across his armor. Ash swirled around him like dying stars. The battlefield below glowed with blue alien fire, the kind only the Varkes Empire could conjure. Rylan tasted metal and thunder on his tongue. The universe felt brutally alive tonight, and she stood in the middle of it. The Queen, Saren Valis, the most feared ruler in the Orion Rift. Her skin shimmered like polished sapphire. Her eyes blazed with the light of collapsing suns. Every step she took hummed with ancient power, older than any human chronicle dared to imagine. She raised her hand toward him, fingers glowing with cyan energy that could cut a warship in half. Her voice echoed across the ridge, beautiful and terrifying. "Human, take one more step toward me, and you will die in seconds." The wind froze. Even the alien fire seemed to bow before her. But Rylan did not stop. He stepped forward, boots scraping against volcanic stone. His heart beat loud inside his helmet. "Then I guess," he said, "you will witness how stubborn my species truly is." Her eyes widened. Just a flicker. Just enough for him to notice. No one in the galaxy dared walk towards Saren Valis when she gave a warning. No one except a human. Because humans were strange, wild, unpredictable, forged from struggle, not perfection. And the universe never knew what to do with a creature that refused to die quietly. Rylan took another step. Heat blasted across his armor. The energy surrounding her crackled, warping the air like a star-going nova. He walked anyway. He felt the sting on his skin. He smelled ozone and scorched earth. He heard the trembling mountain beneath them, as if the planet itself feared displeasing its queen. "You test forces beyond mortal limits," she said, her voice softer now. "Haunted, you challenge the cycle of creation." Rylan smirked, although sweat dripped from his brow. Creation fears humans more than humans fear creation. Her power flared. A spiral of light erupted behind her, revealing silhouettes of past monarchs. Ancient spirits bound to her bloodline. They whispered warnings. They spoke in a language that felt like knives. Rylan felt his knees tremble for a moment. He tasted fear. Real fear, the kind that could break a lesser being. But he straightened again, his voice calm, grounded. "Kill me if you want," he said, "or hear what I came to say." The Queen lowered her hand slightly. The energy dimmed around her fingertips, but the danger remained like thunder waiting to strike. "You risk everything," she said. "For a message?" "No," he replied. "For truth." The ground shook violently. A rift tore open behind the Queen, and from it roared something ancient, a colossal shadow beast of pure void matter, a guardian bound to her life force. Its roar shattered boulders. Its presence crushed the air. Its tendrils reached toward Rylan, with the hunger of a dying star searching for fuel. Any other being would have run, prayed, begged. But Rylan took one more step forward. Slow, measured, fearless. The Queen stared at him, as if she had never seen anything like him in the cosmos. A human, challenging not only her, but the ancient entity linked to her soul. Rylan's voice rose above the chaos. "You warned me I would die in seconds," he said. "Maybe you are right, but humans do not measure life in seconds. We measure it in courage." Her breath caught. An expression, strange, conflicted, almost fragile, crossed her regal face. The void beast paused. The mountain stopped trembling. The Queen's power dimmed, like a star lowering its guard. She whispered something the galaxy had never heard from an immortal monarch. "Why? Why do you walk toward your death?" Rylan stopped just 10 steps from her, close enough to feel the heat of her energy, close enough to see the faint tremble in her luminous eyes. "Because," he said gently, "you needed someone to." The wind howled across the ridge. The stars shuddered above them. Something ancient shifted between them. Not anger, not violence, but possibility. A fragile silence wrapped around the two, as if the universe waited for her answer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Human, you are more dangerous than any weapon." He grinned. Finally, someone understands. But the moment broke violently, as a red beam streaked across the sky, and an explosion rocked the ridge. An enemy dreadnought decloaked above them, cannons glowing with the crimson light of anti-star weaponry. The Queen stiffened. The void beast roared in fury. Rylan grabbed his rifle, eyes sharp and ready. The universe did not give them time to speak. War arrived screaming. And Rylan knew one thing with absolute certainty. This was only the beginning. The dreadnought descended from the clouds like a bleeding god, its hull lined with runes stolen from extinct civilizations. Crimson light pulsed along its massive underbelly as if the ship itself breathed spite and hunger. The air warped. The stone beneath Rylan's boots cracked like brittle ice. Sarenvalis reacted instantly. Her sapphire aura flared outward, forming a shimmering barrier that wrapped around the ridge. The void beast lunged in front of her, its shadowed form expanding until it towered over both of them, claws scraping the ground with sound that felt like a dying galaxy. Rylan steadied himself as heat rippled across the battlefield. He tasted iron. His ears rang with the vibration of approaching doom. Above them, the dreadnought's cannons aligned, locking onto the Queen's position with mechanical precision. A cold realization spread across Rylan's mind. They had come for her, not for territory, not for conquest, for the Queen herself. She whispered something in her language, a sound like flowing crystal. The void beast lowered its body, ready to strike, shadows rippling like liquid night. Rylan raised his weapon and shouted over the thunder of the dreadnought's engines. "Who is targeting you?" Her gaze hardened. The energy around her crackled with rising fury. "Reavers of the Crimson Sunder," she answered. "Traitors. Warmongers. They seek the throne I carry by harvest of my heart." Rylan blinked. "Your heart. It powers the Rift Crown," she said softly. "It binds the universe's forgotten forces. If they tear it from me, they will command extinction." The dreadnought's engines screamed louder. Massive bay doors opened beneath it, revealing a swarm of mechanized shock troopers, steel skeletons with obsidian blades and jet boosters strapped to their spines. Their eyes burned red with synthetic hostility. Sarenvalis did not move. Neither did the void beast. The air crackled with the silence before annihilation. Rylan tightened his grip on his rifle. His pulse hammered, but not with fear, with something sharper, something older, a fury that came from every human ancestor who ever stood against impossible odds. He stepped in front of the Queen. Her eyes widened. "What are you doing?" "Keeping you alive," he replied. "You place yourself between me and a reign of annihilation?" she said in disbelief. "Your body cannot endure their weaponry." "Maybe not," Rylan said, "but I have survived worse than people expected." A storm of mechanical shrieks filled the sky as the shock troopers launched. They descended like a cloud of metal locusts, blades gleaming, boosters screaming. The Queen extended her hand. "Step aside." "No," Rylan said. Her aura flickered with confusion and anger. "I am not fragile human." "I know," he said, "but you are not alone." The shock troopers hit the ridge like falling asteroids. Stone shattered. Fire erupted. Rylan rolled behind a jagged boulder as a blade slashed past where his head had been seconds earlier. He felt the heat of its plasma edge. He fired 3 rounds. 3 heads snapped backward, circuitry spilling from their metallic skulls. Another trooper lunged. Rylan ducked under its swing and drove his knife into its throat, ripping out a bundle of glowing wires. Explosions thundered around him. The void beast let out a roar that shattered nearby cliffs. Shadow tendrils whipped across the battlefield, grabbing shock troopers and crushing them like brittle shells. Each impact sent tremors rippling through the mountain. Sarenvalis rose into the air, her aura blazing so brightly it illuminated the entire ridge. She moved with lethal grace, slicing through soldiers with arcs of pure energy. Where she passed, air sizzled like lightning striking water. Rylan caught a glimpse of her in the chaos, spinning, cutting, unleashing ancient power with every gesture. She was deadly beauty incarnate, but even she could not be everywhere at once. A shock trooper broke through and charged straight toward her, wielding an antimatter spike aimed for her heart. Rylan sprinted. Rock crumbled beneath his feet. He launched himself across a fissure, grabbing the trooper from behind and dragging it down. They tumbled dangerously close to a lava vein exposed by the bombardment. The trooper stabbed wildly. Rylan felt the heat of the spike scorch past his shoulder. He jammed his rifle into the trooper's chest and fired until its core exploded, sending a blast wave that knocked him backward. He hit the ground hard, sliding across gravel. Pain shot through his ribs, but he pushed upright, gasping. Saren Vallis appeared beside him in a flicker of blue light. Her expression burned with something fierce and unfamiliar. "You shielded me," she whispered. "That is kind of what humans do." Rylan wiped blood from his lip. "We protect our allies." Her eyes glowed brighter. "I have no allies." "Then you do now." Before she could respond, a dark shadow spread across the ridge. The dreadnought had aimed its main cannon. A sphere of crimson energy swelled beneath it, big enough to erase an entire city. The mountain trembled with dread. The void beast staggered backward, its tendrils curling defensively. Saren Vallis inhaled sharply. Her aura flickered, dimming for the first time. She whispered, almost broken, "That weapon is charged by stellar blood. Even my power cannot block it." Rylan stared at the growing sphere. It pulsed like the beating heart of a dying god. He stepped toward the edge of the ridge. "Rylan," she said sharply, "return." He did not. "Explain what you're doing." He looked at her over his shoulder. "You said even your power cannot stop that blast." "Yes," she said tightly. "It will tear reality into shreds." "Good," he replied. "Then they will not expect what I am about to do." He pressed two buttons on his wrist module. His armor plates shifted. Circuits hummed. Energy surged through his body. The Queen's eyes widened as a faint golden field formed around him. "You are activating a human singularity core," she said in shock. "That device is unstable. It is forbidden. It can annihilate you." "Only if I hesitate," Rylan said. "You will burn alive," she whispered. "I will burn for a purpose," he answered. "That is enough for me." "Human, you cannot." "I can." He stepped closer to the drop. "Because I am not powered by ancient bloodlines or interstellar thrones. I am powered by something your enemies cannot calculate." Her voice trembled. "Which is?" "Human defiance." The sphere above them grew brighter. The dreadnought hummed. The air distorted with violent tension. Rylan ran. The world thundered behind him. Heat roared at his back. Wind tore at his armor. The ridge crumbled under his feet, but he did not stop. The singularity core pulsed faster, energy twisting around him like golden storms. He jumped off the ridge, falling toward the chasm below, then activated his boosters, launching upward, straight toward the dreadnought's cannon. Saren Vallis screamed his name. The void beast cried out in a sound like collapsing universes. But Rylan soared upward, golden streaks trailing behind him like the tail of a newborn star. The dreadnought fired. Red and gold collided. Space warped violently. Time bent. The explosion was so bright, it erased the horizon for a moment. The blast wave obliterated the ridge, throwing Saren Vallis backward. The void beast shielded her with its massive wings of shadow. A crater of silence followed. Smoke drifted. Stone melted. The sky dimmed. The dreadnought's main cannon was destroyed, half its hull torn open, debris raining down like burning meteors. And in the center of the sky, falling slowly, was Rylan. His armor sparked and smoked. The singularity core glowed faintly, nearly spent. He crashed into the shattered ground, coughing, alive by the thinnest margin. Saren Vallis appeared beside him instantly, kneeling, her hands trembling as she touched his shoulders. "You survived," she whispered in disbelief. He groaned. "Humans are too stubborn to die on command." Her eyes shimmered, an emotion he had never expected from a queen carved from cosmic power. Relief. Awe. Respect. "You challenged a weapon built to erase stars," she said. "You challenged destiny itself." Rylan gave a weak grin. "And I won. For now," she said softly. Her voice carried both warning and wonder. A metallic roar echoed across the battlefield. Pieces of the dreadnought shifted. Engines reignited. A second swarm of shock troopers prepared to launch. The enemy was wounded, but far from defeated. Sarenvala stood, her aura flaring back to full strength. She extended her hand to Rylan. "Human," she said, "fight beside me." He took her hand and rose. "Always." And the next wave of war descended upon them with apocalyptic fury. The second wave descended with a sound that felt like 1,000 metallic wings tearing the sky apart. The shock troopers ignited their boosters, streaking downward in spirals of red fire, their blades humming with lethal precision. The mountain shook under the combined force of their approach. The air vibrated so violently that dust danced at Ryland's feet. He steadied himself, fingers curling around the grip of his rifle. His armor buzzed with warnings, half its systems on the verge of collapse. The singularity core inside his chest plate flickered with a pale, exhausted glow. He could feel the heat radiating from it, as if it remembered the star it almost became. Sarenvala sensed his weakness immediately. Her aura swept outward in a gentle wave, brushing across him like cool starlight. The pain in his bones dulled. His vision steadied. "I cannot heal you fully," she said, her voice low with urgency, "but I can keep you standing." He smirked. "Standing is enough." Her eyes locked onto his. "Do not fall. I will not have the universe witness your death." "Then stay close," he replied, "and I will not have the universe witness yours." A moment passed, brief, powerful. Then the world broke open again. The first trooper hit the ground, slashing downward with an obsidian blade. Ryland dodged sideways, sparks flying as the blade tore through the stone where he had stood. He fired into the trooper's joints, dropping it with mechanical screams. Two more lunged. Ryland ducked under one, pivoted behind the other, and smashed his fist into its core so hard the armor dented inward. The Queen's energy pulsed beside him as she unleashed a sweeping arc of blue fire, slicing 5 troopers cleanly in half. The void beast roared, shadows flaring outward. It grabbed troopers midair, crushing bodies into bursts of circuitry that rained down like metallic snow. But the swarm was relentless. Dozens landed, dozens more descended. The air filled with the constant clash of metal against stone, the rumble of detonations, the screams of failing machinery. Ryland fought like a man with nothing left to lose. His legs burned from overexertion. His armor cracked at the ribs, but he refused to slow. He felt the rhythm of battle surge through him, each breath sharp, each movement instinctive. A trooper slammed a blade into his shoulder plate. He shouted, grabbed the trooper by the throat, and tore its head off with raw strength his suit amplified. He tossed the remains aside and spun to block another strike. Sarenvala moved like living celestial fire. Her energy trails burned the air with every gesture. She fought with elegance and fury, dancing to the battlefield in arcs of blinding light. But even her enormous power began to strain. Ryland saw the flicker in her aura, the slight tremble in her steps. The void beast staggered as 3 troopers latched onto its back, digging anti-shadow spikes into its body. The beast howled and collapsed to one knee. Ryland cursed under his breath and sprinted toward them. He jumped onto the beast's back, grabbed one of the troopers by the face, and slammed it repeatedly into the beast's hard armor until its head crumpled. He ripped the spike free, then hurled another trooper into a chasm that glowed with molten rock. The final trooper stabbed toward him. Ryland caught the blade, forcing it back with shaking arms until his strength surged and he snapped the weapon in half. He stabbed the broken shard into the trooper's chest, shutting it down instantly. The beast rose again, breathing heavily, the shadows around it flickering like wounded wings. Sarenvala landed beside Ryland in a flash of light. "The beast is weakening," she said. "They know it is the core of my defense." "They want it gone first," Ryland said, wiping blood from his brow. "Then they come for you." "And then for the universe," she added. Another deafening roar tore across the battlefield as a massive shape emerged from the smoke. A colossal mech, nearly 20 meters tall, climbed over the ridge with earth-shaking steps. Its armor gleamed with the same crimson glow as the dreadnought above. Its arms were lined with rotating blades and cannons that hummed with stored power. Ryland's breath froze. "Reaver Titan," Saren Vallis whispered. "They built it from the remains of an extinct god machine." The Titan's eyes glowed with burning hatred as it focused on the Queen. Her face hardened. "That machine is designed to kill me." "Then we kill it first," Ryland said. "You cannot fight that. It is beyond mortal scale." "I know," he said. "Lucky for us, humans did not stay inside scale." The Titan fired a blast of force that hit the ground and sent a shockwave rippling through the ridge. Ryland and the Queen were thrown backward, sliding across shattered stone. Ryland's armor sparked violently. Systems screamed warnings. He forced himself upright, teeth clenched. The Titan charged. It moved far faster than something that large should. Its blades extended, spinning with a screech that split the air. Ryland dodged left as a blade carved a deep trench into mountain. Saren Vallis unleashed a concentrated beam of blue energy, but the Titan's chest opened to reveal a shield that absorbed her attack and sent it back at twice the strength. She barely blocked it with shimmering barrier. Her knees buckled under pressure. Ryland ran toward the Titan, boosters blasting. He leaped onto its leg, grabbing a mechanical joint and pulling himself upward. Sparks showered around him as the Titan moved, metal grinding loudly. He reached its back and tore open a panel, exposing glowing wires. He jammed a shock grenade inside and jumped away before it detonated. A massive explosion ripped into the Titan's back. The machine staggered forward, one arm sparking uncontrollably. Saren Vallis seized the opening. She hurled a spear of pure cosmic energy directly into the exposed circuitry. The Titan roared, its mechanical voice rattling the sky. But it did not fall. Instead, it redirected all its fury toward Ryland. It lunged, grabbing him in a massive metal claw. The pressure tightened with crushing force. His armor groaned. His ribs screamed. He gasped, fighting to breathe. "Ryland!" Saren Vallis shouted. He felt the Titan's grip strengthen. Pain exploded through his chest. He could hear metal bending. His vision blurred. The Titan lifted him higher, ready to crush him fully. The Queen's aura blazed so suddenly it stunned even the Titan. She rose into the air, fury radiating from her like a newborn star. "Release him," she commanded, her voice shaking the entire mountain. The Titan ignored her. Her expression changed. Something ancient awakened in her eyes. Something primal. Something forbidden. Ryland felt it in his bones. Her power exploded outward, raw and unrestrained. The ground buckled. The air screamed. Even the void beast recoiled from her unleashed might. She reached the Titan in an instant, her hand glowing so intensely it turned white. She slammed her palm into the Titan's arm. The metal melted instantly, the entire limb evaporating in a blinding flash of light. Ryland fell, tumbling through the air until a void beast caught him gently in a massive claw. Saren Vallis was not done. She rose above the Titan, her aura forming wings of brilliant energy behind her. She unleashed a storm of cosmic wrath, so powerful the very sky cracked with lightning. The Titan stumbled backward, its armor warping, its systems screaming. She drove her energy into its core, ripping through layer after layer. Ryland watched in awe and a little fear. He had never seen a force like hers unleashed. The Titan let out one final mechanical howl before exploding in a burst of fire and shredded metal, scattering fragments across the entire mountain range. Silence fell slowly, like dust settling after the end of a world. Saren Vallis dropped to her knees, exhausted, her aura flickering. The void beast lowered Ryland beside her. He staggered toward her, supporting her as she swayed. "You stopped the Titan," he said softly. She looked at him, her eyes dim but steady. "No, we stopped it." He helped her stand, her body trembling with fatigue. But before either of them could speak further, a deep, resonant hum shook the sky. They looked upward. The dreadnought, damaged but still operational, began to open a final, enormous rift beneath it, larger than any weapon they had seen so far. Ryland felt a chill crawl down his spine. "What is that?" he asked. Saren Vallis stared at the growing rift, her expression darkening. "A rift, Ma," she said. a weapon that devours entire worlds. Ryland's heartbeat quickened, and it is activating. She held his arm tightly, her breath unsteady. "This battle is not over, human," she whispered. The rift maw expanded like a blooming wound in the sky, its swirling crimson edges tearing apart the clouds as if reality itself were nothing more than fragile parchment. The air grew heavier, thick with the metallic scent of cosmic pressure. Lightning, black and jagged, crackled inside the vortex, illuminating the dreadnought's damaged hull. The world beneath trembled. Stones vibrated under Ryland's boots. Even the void beast crouched low, growling with a trembling, wounded fury. Saren Vallis stared upward, her sapphire skin reflecting the monstrous glow. The exhaustion beneath her regal posture was unmistakable. Ryland placed a hand on her arm and felt the tremor in her muscles. She had used too much power against the Titan. The rift maw's presence ate at her strength like acid. "They will consume this world first," she whispered, her voice raw. "And then they will consume the system. A rift maw does not stop until it feasts." Ryland's throat tightened as he watched the swirling mass expand, growing larger, more unstable. The dreadnought fed streams of dark energy into it, the machine itself trembling under the strain. If the maw opened fully, everything they stood on, every life on the shattered moon, would be swallowed. He exhaled sharply, steadying the furious beat of his heart. "Tell me how we stop it." Saren Vallis looked at him, eyes full of conflict and something else, something closer to fear than she wanted to admit. "To stop it," she said softly, "something must sever the dreadnought's core from within. The maw draws its power from a heart engine forged from a dying star. Detaching the core will collapse the rift before it devours everything." Ryland stiffened. "So we destroy the engine." "You cannot destroy it," she said firmly. "Only disable it. Destroying it will tear the rift wide open. Someone must enter the dreadnought, reach the core chamber, and sever the energy streams by hand." Ryland nodded, determination hardening his expression. "Then I will go." Her fingers gripped his wrist immediately, nails digging into his armor. "No, you cannot. You said it yourself. It is the only way." Her voice sharpened with unmasked emotion. "The core chamber radiates starfire. No mortal being can withstand its heat. Lucky I do not plan to be in there long," Ryland said with a half-formed smile. "This is not courage," she argued. "It is suicide." "Every battle against impossible odds looks like suicide," he replied quietly. "Humans fight anyway." A shudder ran through her. Her aura flickered, the blue light pulsing like a frightened heartbeat. "You walk toward death with such confidence," she whispered. He touched her hand gently. "I walk toward chance." "And what of me?" she asked softly, her voice breaking at the edges. "If you fall, the maw will still open. The universe will lose the only human who ever defied fate in front of me. Then do not let me fall," he said. "Fight beside me from out here." A long silence stretched between them, full of fear, fury, admiration, and something unspoken. Slowly, she released his wrist, her hand trembling as it dropped to her side. Ryland turned to the void beast, whose shadowy wings drooped under strain. "I need a lift." The beast lowered itself, offering its massive back. Ryland climbed on, securing himself between the creature's raised ridges. Saren Vallis placed her hand over the beast's head, whispering ancient words that glowed in the creature's eyes like silver fire. "It will carry you," she said, her voice steadying, "and it will bring you back." "Good," he said, tightening his grip, "because I plan to return." The beast roared and launched into the air. The wind whipped against Ryland's face. The temperature dropped sharply as they ascended. Smoke swirled around them. The dreadnought loomed large above, its injured hull dripping molten metal, its engines roaring like dying storms. The rift maw expanded further, casting the world in red twilight. The beast dodged incoming fire as the dreadnought unleashed volleys of crackling projectiles. Ryland braced himself, leaning low as blasts tore past. One grazed the beast's wing, sending a jolt through its body. "Hold steady!" Ryland yelled over the rushing wind. The beast steadied, enduring the pain, pushing forward. It beat its enormous wings and surged upward, weaving between debris and energy streaks. Rylan spotted a massive fracture in the dreadnought's hull from the earlier explosion. Flames licked the torn metal edges. There, he pointed. The beast angled sharply, gliding toward the gap. A moment later, it slammed its claws into the ruptured steel and perched on an exposed platform outside the engine chamber. Rylan jumped off and patted the beast's shoulder. Stay close. The creature growled in acknowledgement, wings spread defensively. Rylan sprinted into the corridor. The interior of the dreadnought burned with red emergency lights. Sirens blared. Smoke and sparks filled the air. He felt the heat intensifying the deeper he ran. The ship's system sensed intrusion. Turrets descended from the ceiling, firing concentrated beams. Rylan dove behind a fallen support beam as the blast scorched past. He rolled forward and shot the turrets with precise bursts. Sparks rained down as they collapsed. He pressed deeper, feeling sweat bead down his spine, despite the failing cooling systems of his armor. The core chamber was close. He reached a massive circular door thrumming with radiant heat. Lines of ancient runes etched into the metal glowed with molten brilliance. Rylan pressed his hand against the access panel. It rejected him instantly, unleashing a jolt of electricity strong enough to stagger him backward. Figures, he muttered, shaking off the pain. He raised his rifle and shot the panel. The door hissed open a crack. He forced it wider, grunting as the heat blasted outward with brutal intensity. The chamber was overwhelming. A colossal crystalline heart hovered in the center, suspended by dark energy streams. The star core pulsed with blinding white and gold light. Energy tendrils lashed outward, connecting to conduits lining the room. The heat scorched Rylan's skin through the armor immediately. He stumbled, teeth clenched as his vision blurred. His armor screamed warnings. System overheating. Core integrity failing. Vital signs unstable. He pushed forward anyway, every step a battle. The energy streams reacted to his presence, flaring violently. One tendril whipped past him, searing a line across his chest plate. He gasped, stumbling to one knee. His voice cracked. Not dying, not yet. He forced himself up and moved toward the main conduit. If he could manually sever it, the maw would collapse. His gloves began to melt at the fingertips. Pain shot up his arms. He grabbed the conduit anyway. Searing agony ripped through him. He screamed but held on, muscles trembling, eyes burning. Pieces of his armor burst off, hitting the floor in molten chunks. Sweat evaporated instantly from his skin. His breath came in ragged gasps. The conduit cracked. A burst of light exploded, throwing him backward. He smashed into the wall and slid down, dazed. The rift maw outside howled as the feed weakened for a second, then surged stronger again. Rylan wiped blood from his lip, swaying as he stood. One more. He limped toward the secondary conduit. His lungs burned. His vision tunneled. But the fire in him, human stubbornness, raged brighter than anything in the room. He reached the second conduit, grabbed it, and pulled with every ounce of strength. The metal groaned. Sparks exploded across his arms. His armor disintegrated piece by piece. But the conduit ripped free. The room shook violently. The maw outside pulsed irregularly, losing stability. Rylan fell to his knees, coughing violently, his body shaking uncontrollably. The third conduit awaited. He crawled toward it, fingers blistered, blood dripping from his palms. He reached it. His body trembled too violently to stand. So he wrapped both arms around it and pulled with everything left inside him. A voice suddenly echoed through the chamber. Rylan. Saren Vallis. She burst into the room in a flash of blue light, her aura battered but fierce. Her eyes widened at the sight of him, broken, scorched, barely holding on. No, she whispered, anguish breaking through her voice. Not like this. He forced a grin. You said no mortal could survive this. Good thing humans never stay inside limits. She knelt beside him. You will die. Then make it worth something, he said. Help me pull. Her hands glowed as she grasped the conduit with him. Their combined strength, human will, and alien power surged through the metal. The conduit snapped. A shock wave ripped through the chamber. The core dimmed. The maw outside howled as its power destabilized. Saren Valis grabbed Rylan. As the floor cracked beneath them, she teleported them out in a burst of light, landing on the ridge outside where the void beast roared at the collapsing sky. Above them, the rift maw convulsed violently, shrinking, imploding, pulling the dreadnought into itself as the entire ship shattered under the strain. Rylan lay in her arms, barely conscious, breath shallow. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," he murmured faintly. Together, the maw collapsed with a final blinding flash, leaving silence. But victory was not peaceful. From a horizon, dozens of crimson signatures appeared. Reaver reinforcements, warships streaking toward the shattered moon. The Queen held Rylan closer, her eyes glowing with renewed fire. "This war is not finished," she said. He smiled weakly. "Good, because neither am I." The storm of void light hung above him like a colossal, breathing wound in the sky, and Rylan felt the air vibrate as if the universe itself braced for impact. Queen Suraja's wings folded tight, her violet eyes shimmering with fear. She refused to show. She watched Rylan approach the crackling rim of the rift, and her voice trembled with a fury born from terror, not anger. "Human, you step one more pace, and reality will unmake you." Rylan did not slow. He planted one boot forward. Feeling the ground tremble beneath him, the air burned with static. His skin prickled. His heartbeat thundered, but his gaze stayed fixed on the swirling abyss that wanted to swallow everything. He spoke without looking away. "If this thing is waking, someone needs to tell humanity wakes harder." Suraja exhaled sharply, wings flaring. "You disobey every law of survival. You defy instinct. You face annihilation without hesitation. How does your species exist?" Rylan smirked faintly. "We cheat." The rift pulsed again, louder, deeper, like a drumbeat that hammered through bone and memory. The vibrations reached into Rylan's mind, coaxing forgotten fears, whispering promises of collapse. He clenched his jaw and stepped closer. A tendril of black-violet energy lashed outward. It struck his chest, not as force, but as pure will, an ancient will that had lived through trillions of years, a hunger that remembered when galaxies first bled into existence. Rylan staggered. His breath hitched. Pressure like a collapsing star pressed against him. Suraja darted forward, grabbing his forearm, her claws digging into his sleeve but not breaking skin. She felt the force hit him twice as hard as she did. Her wings shook from the pressure alone. "Rylan, your mind cannot endure this." This entity ended civilizations that evolved before suns existed. And humanity evolved after punching extinction in the throat repeatedly. Rylan grunted. The tendril pushed harder. Pain exploded up his spine. Every muscle screamed. A burning sensation poured through his veins like molten metal. Another step forward. Suraja's breath trembled. He forced another step. The ground vibrated so violently that dust lifted in tiny clouds around his boots. Suraja's eyes widened. "You are breaking the barrier. The entity senses a challenge. It is older than concepts. You are provoking something that existed before courage evolved." Rylan laughed breathlessly. "Good. Maybe it will underestimate us." The rift shuddered and then cracked open further. A surge of light exploded outward. Suraja shielded her face with a wing. Rylan held his ground. The light shifted through impossible colors. Hues that had no definitions, wavelengths that hurt to perceive. They spiraled around a colossal silhouette forming inside the rift. A shape moved. Something vast. Something that dwarfed planets and memories. Its presence burned into Rylan's senses. A voice, older than galaxies, whispered directly into his mind. No sound, only raw consciousness. "You step forward in ignorance. You are nothing before US." Rylan spat blood and steadied himself. "Get in line." Plenty of things tried to tell humans that. The giant presence leaned closer. Suraja's wings fluttered with horror. She knew that even acknowledging a rift sovereign required civilizations to live through several cosmic eras. Her people only had legends about them. No one, in any record, had spoken back to one. Rylan took another step and raised his hand toward the colossal eye forming within the light. He felt emotions that were not his. Rage, curiosity, hunger, cold, empty purpose. He also felt fear, buried deep within the creature's awareness. That surprised him. It feared something inside him. The sovereign shifted, its voice echoing through the atmosphere. "What are you?" Rylan breathed slowly through the pain. "A human." Silence rippled like an aftershock. Then the sovereign pressed harder. Its presence tried to suffocate his consciousness. Memories flashed in his vision, his childhood, his training, the moment he lost his squad. The weight of grief and guilt crushed down like planets stacked on his shoulders. His knees buckled. Saraja darted closer, gripping him tightly, her voice sharp with desperation. "Rylan, release the link. It will hollow you out. It will strip your mind thread by thread." But he shook his head, jaw clenched. "No, humans do not back down. Not from gods. Not from monsters. Not from the universe itself." His vision blurred. The sovereign's eye expanded, filling his entire awareness with brilliance and darkness intertwined. Defying US is hopeless. Defying US is pain. Defying US is... Defying you, Rylan gasped, is what I do. Then he reached deeper into the rift. He felt the sovereign's will. He felt its ancient rhythm, timeless, constant, predictable. And humanity had a gift the sovereigns had never needed. Adaptation. Rylan copied the rhythm with his own heartbeat, sinking to the pulse of the rift. Immediately the pressure shifted, not vanishing, but aligning with him. The crushing weight eased enough that he could breathe again. Saraja stared at him like he had become a myth before her eyes. "You match resonance with a rift sovereign. That is impossible. That is not an ability. That is not." "It is human stubbornness," he said through gritted teeth, "and maybe a bit of luck." The sovereign recoiled, shocked. "You alter the song of existence. You are not supposed to. You break the rules." Rylan gave a strained grin. "Welcome to humanity." The sovereign roared, not in sound, but in reality itself. The very sky twisted, clouds spiraling into violent arcs. Energy lashed outward, slamming into the mountains. The ground cracked beneath them. Saraja pulled Rylan back a step before the ground collapsed. He steadied himself. He refused to fall. The sovereign's presence pushed harder, as if trying to erase him from existence. Space warped. Time shook. Shadows bled upward into the air. Saraja yelled over the thunder of reality tearing. "Rylan, you must sever the link. You must retreat." "No," he whispered. "I am done running." He could feel his body breaking. Blood dripped from his nose. His heartbeat thundered, so loud he could barely hear anything else. Each breath tasted like electricity. The sovereign reached again, but now its tendrils felt different. Hesitant, confused, frustrated. "You are a fragile creature, yet you hold against US. Why?" Rylan looked into the vortex of swirling cosmic power and answered with absolute clarity. "Because humanity always punches above its weight." The rift crackled violently. Fractures ripped across its surface like shards of shattered glass. Saraja gasped, "You are destabilizing it. It does not understand how to counter you. Rylan, you are forcing an ancient being to adapt, and it has never needed to." The sovereign reeled backward. The planet trembled. Mountains shook. "This is not possible. Your mind is small. Your existence is small. Your value is..." Rylan cut it off. "Not negotiable." The sovereign hesitated. For the first time since the dawn of its era, something felt wrong to it. A human stood unbroken. A human challenged it. A human refused cosmic inevitability. Rylan stepped forward again, pushing into the rift's glow. He reached out with both hands, gripping the raw current of energy like they were physical, tangible, wrestlable. Saraja stared in awe. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You are not a soldier. You are not even merely human anymore. You are something else. Something new." Rylan's voice was quiet but steady. "I am still human. Just a very, very motivated one." He pushed harder. The rift buckled like a living thing in agony. The sovereign's voice shook with disbelief and rage. "Enough. We will not submit. We will not fall to a lesser form." Rylan roared back, voice tearing from his throat. then evolve. A shockwave exploded outward. Saraja shielded herself. Lightning spiraled around Rylan, wrapping him in blinding bands of energy. He felt everything at once: fear, rage, hope, despair, determination, and the stubborn heartbeat of every human who refused to die quietly. He pushed even harder, and the rift split open like a wound ripping wider. The Sovereign shrieked, its presence curling in on itself. Reality bent around them, and then everything stopped. The rift hung frozen. The Sovereign's massive eye stared at Rylan, its glow dimmed. Silence. Saraja lowered her wings slowly, voice trembling. "Rylan, what have you done?" He did not answer immediately. His breath came ragged. His limbs shook. But he was still standing. He looked up at the frozen rift and whispered, "I challenged it. Now it is deciding whether humans are worth fearing or worth destroying." The frozen light pulsed once. Saraja's eyes widened. Rylan steadied himself. He knew the standoff was not over. Not won. Not even close. But for the first time in cosmic history, a sovereign hesitated. A human made it hesitate. And Rylan whispered under his breath. The rift pulsed like a wounded star struggling for breath. Each tremor sent ripples of distorted gravity rolling across the valley, bending light, warping air, pulling shadows apart and stitching them back in the wrong places. Rylan felt the vibrations crawling along his bones, humming deep inside his chest like the echo of a massive engine beginning to fail. The rift sovereign stirred in the storm of light, its colossal form still half hidden inside the cosmic breach. Its single radiant eye narrowed, flickering with the remnants of confusion, then brightening with something far more dangerous. Recognition. Thunder rolled across the sky, without sound. Saraja tensed beside him, wings curling close as she studied the behemoth shifting within the Terran reality. Her voice trembled even as she forced it steady. "It has made its decision." Rylan did not step back. He felt the weight of the moment settling over him like a mantle of cold iron. He had done what no human, no species, no starbound civilization in recorded history had attempted. He made a being older than space-time hesitate. Now the universe held its breath. The Sovereign's voice sank into his mind again, but this time it was slower, deliberate, heavy as collapsing galaxies. "You defied US, and remained intact. This is unprecedented." Rylan swallowed a taste of blood and electricity. His heartbeat thundered, but his stance did not waver. "It is what humans do." The entity's immense eye glowed brighter, its light swirling like nebulae being born, torn apart, and reborn again. A tendril of energy extended outward, not violent this time, but probing, almost cautious. Saraja spread her wings wide, stepping between Rylan and the beam, fangs bared. "I will not permit you to touch him." The Sovereign paused. Then the beam shifted, curling around her protectively without making contact, as if acknowledging her presence, but focusing entirely on the human behind her. "The resonance you forged should not exist. You were never meant to match US. Your form is fleeting. Your line is frail." Rylan exhaled slowly. "That never stopped us." The energy contracted, swirling faster. The mountains trembled as cracks spread up their sides. "We seek understanding. We seek purpose. We seek equals." Rylan's breath caught in his throat. Equals. The Sovereign was contemplating the possibility that humanity, small, reckless, stubborn humanity, might hold enough spark to stand beside them. Saraja lowered her guard, astonishment softening her expression. "You are forcing a cosmic ruler to reassess its hierarchy." "Rylan, this moment, no historian will believe it. No scholar will comprehend it." Rylan stared into the swirling abyss. He felt the truth of her words like a weight pressing into his ribs. "I am not doing this for history," he murmured, "or for glory. I am doing this because someone had to step up." The Sovereign's voice deepened, echoing with a tone he had not heard before. Not arrogance, not hunger. Something like respect twisted with unease. "You faced oblivion, without shield, without master, without fear." Rylan's lips curved into a tired smile. "I was terrified, still am. Yet you moved forward. Always." The rift expanded outward slightly, a controlled shift, not a chaotic rupture. The light inside thin enough for Rylan to glimpse massive structures beyond. Titanic limbs, fractal wings, swirling architecture formed from pure energy and shadow. A kingdom carved from space-time itself. The sovereign's full presence loomed over him like a tidal wave. You are small, but your will is not. We cannot predict you. We cannot contain you. The valley trembled again. Saraja stepped closer to Rylan, her arm brushing his, grounding him. Her heart pounded fast, her breath soft but ragged. Rylan, this will be the moment. The single moment that defines your species for the next 1,000 eras. He nodded faintly. The sovereign's tendril of light descended again, slower than before, like a celestial hand reaching toward him. He did not flinch. The light hovered a hair's width from his chest, no longer burning, no longer crushing. Instead, it hummed with soundless vibration, like a choir made of collapsing stars. We see you. We acknowledge you. We offer a choice. Rylan's pulse skipped. The sovereign's voice shifted, fracturing into layered tones. We can erase your kind, remove you from the thread of time, and end the threat you pose to the cosmos. Saraja inhaled sharply. Or, the air thickened, the sky dimmed, the rift widened, showing glimpses of more sovereigns, watching, waiting, observing the anomaly that was a human refusing to kneel. We can permit your species to rise. Rylan felt heat building behind his eyes, the pressure of decision far beyond any human responsibility. Rise. The word carried weight beyond understanding, beyond evolution, beyond mortality. What does that mean? He asked quietly. The sovereign answered. You will be unrestricted. You will grow faster than nature allowed. You will unlock paths meant for beings, older than your sun. You will stand among U.S. or against U.S. by your own merit. Saraja's hand closed around his wrist, claws trembling against the skin. Rylan, this offer is perilous. If humanity rises, every empire in the galaxy will fear you. They will attack you. They will unite against you. Your species will be hunted through stars uncharted. Rylan looked up into the swirling light. I know. The sovereign waited. Choose. Ascend. Or vanish. Silence expanded like a vacuum. Rylan closed his eyes. Memories rushed through him. His home. His friends. His losses. His planet full of flawed, stubborn, loud, brilliant people who refuse extinction at every turn. He whispered, Humanity does not vanish. The sovereigns, I flared. A burst of brilliant gold and collapsing darkness. Then humanity rises. The rift exploded outward in a silent burst of cosmic wind. Rylan staggered back, Saraja catching him as he nearly fell. The storm of light expanded across the sky, painting clouds with impossible colors. He felt something slip into him. Not possession, not control. A spark, a seed of potential planted in the human genome. A gift, a challenge, a beginning. The sovereign's vast silhouette faded back into the rift, its final message echoing through the valley. Grow strong, human. The next time we meet, we will not hold back. Rylan steadied his breath. His pulse felt different, stronger, sharper, more alive. Saraja cupped his face with trembling hands, eyes wide with awe and fear. You accepted the burden of an entire species. Rylan, you may have altered the fate of the universe. He leaned his forehead against hers. I did what humans always do. Her voice softened. And what is that? Rylan smiled faintly. We rise when we are told to fall. The rift shuddered once more. Then it sealed shut like a scar fading across the sky. Saraja's wings folded around him as dust settled. The mountains exhaling the silence of an ancient fear lifted. Rylan stood straight again, his silhouette sharp against the dimming horizon. A man altered, a human elevated, a spark that would ignite 1,000 futures. The wind shifted. Stars pierced through the thinning clouds. And somewhere in the dark beyond, a cosmic being watched a small human world with new attention. Rylan breathed deep, feeling the strange new pulse woven through his heartbeat. Time to tell humanity, he murmured. Saraja touched his shoulder as they turned away from a valley. What will you tell them first? Rylan looked up at the stars, not with fear, not with doubt, but with certainty. That the universe is much bigger than we imagined, and that it just blinked first,